All right. I think it's recording.
And after you out your sister.
Mute yourself. Unless you're gonna say something that's funny, I guess. I don't know. Welcome back. It's just me and Gigs today. Bryce and Landon are busy. I don't know what he. Um, uh, we were gonna do it last night, but a little bit of failure of planning. I'll say it was mostly my fault because if I don't heard Landon and Bryce, uh,
Landon and Bryce gone, can't even defend themselves, and he's slamming on
if I had told them 6, 8, 10 hours before,
them.
they would have shown up. But if not, they make plans. This is not just them. This is everybody that's not on like a highly optimized schedule. Like I kind of have to be, or else I get nothing done. What is that?
It's a stick on my bed.
Um, how you been, Gigs?
I spent $10,000 today.
Do you want to tell us about it, or probably not? Well, wait.
Spent ten
Yeah.
thousand dollars. Well, we'll talk about it when it gets here, I guess.
Okay. Um, uh, since it's just us two, we're just gonna dive into the stuff that you and I know well. So we're not even gonna act like we care about some of the other stuff. We're just gonna dive straight into politics, and then we're gonna transition to some other stuff. I kind of want to talk about. Oh wait, yeah. Here, what's up?
Continue. I was just yawning.
Oh, you're good. I uh,
His face really red.
I wonder if it's the lights, or were you out in the sun today? I'm white as a.
I was a bit in the sun today.
I'm
It's
super
black.
white.
Why is my screen so bright?
I remembered I haven't been in the sun in like 2 years, really.
My room's all messy too.
What do you? Yeah, just your kit on your couch. So politics. There, I. So there's a couple of things that I want to go over. Um, uh, we're just gonna go over all of it, but the Sydney Sweeney situation is super interesting and super fun.
The
What
Sydney Sweeney effect.
the Sydney Sweeney effect? No, Sydney Sweeney being called a Nazi.
She
Um,
got
uh,
called a Nazi?
wait, you don't know about this? So there's the
I did
Sydney
not.
Sweeney effect, and then there's more.
I know she got called. When did she get called a Nazi? Was that today?
No, it's been maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and it's
Of course, because she's a hot white woman. Of course, they're gonna call her a Nazi.
So what ended up happening is if you watch the actual American Eagle whatchamacallit ad, she says words while you're trying to see if you can catch a piece of her side boob, you know? and,
She speaks. I didn't know she did that.
most guys wouldn't
Normally,
be
I just
aware
stare
that.
at the picture for 3 hours. I
Well,
know she
she
can talk
she
too.
uh, and um as she's like getting up and doing these gymnastics to not show her nipples or whatever, the words, I forget exactly what the words are, but it's like it talks about genes and she, but like
Yeah.
GEAN.
Well, it's like, yeah, I
She's
remember. I
like,
watched
it's
it.
been in
You're like,
my genes or whatever. So everyone took this as like a slight, like like Aryan race, woke right, like
and it's a
Nazi
hot.
type vibes.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's I don't even remember the words. I should probably look it up. But like it was like a play on the word jeans and jeans. Like me
Yeah,
wearing
because
these
it's a
jeans is always.
freaking. It's a marketing. It's a pants company. The greatest skinny jeans company in the world.
I remember Arion or what, American Eagle. American Eagle was big whenever you and I were in school, but I thought it was one of those fad brands like Abercrombie or
American Eagle is
Aeropostale.
for
But
gay people and women mostly.
I saw, if I remember correctly, there's an ad for it or a product placement in National Treasures. Is that true? Do you know if that's true or not? Um,
I do remember that they go to like
and
a jean store and they're trying on jeans. Like they go after they steal the decoration, they go to get new clothes and they like
yeah,
steal
there
some
probably
money.
weren't American Eagle. American Eagle. Uh,
They are
uh,
wearing jeans that entire movie. Now that I think about it.
it was made in 1977. I didn't know that that was. That's what 77 is the age that a normal American Eagle Outfitters is what I should say here. Um Clothing retailers, South Side. Oh, from Pennsylvania, 1977. That's also how what's his name came to be.
Oh, they're
Uh,
definitely national treasure if they're based out of Pennsylvania too.
Hilfiger, or is that who I'm thinking
Tommy
of?
Hilfiger?
He like was living in New York and was like hawking jeans, and he just got into the fashion business and like that. He was just like making hella money buying these pants that were the like bell bottom pants in the 70s and selling them at like a 3,000% markup or something like that.
Based.
It's him or it's one of the other like East Coast jean type boat vibe vans, or not boat vibe clothing brands that's out there. You know, there's definitely like those East Coast vibes that you get, the ones that have like the old style white and blue. You know what I'm talking about?
My jean trousers.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting uh that they're calling her a Nazi. And there's like TikToks of these women that are getting on their phone and be like, I just rewatched the American Eagle ads, and I'm realizing that that she's totally Nazi and they're totally Nazi coded. And
It's because she just made. It's because she just made them how much money? Their market cap just went up like 33%, didn't it?
yeah, and that
Probably
kind of
more now.
that leads into the
And whenever you make a ton of money, everyone in this there's a certain percentage of this population, but they won't give you what the dollar amount is. But as soon as you make a lot of money, they come after you and hate on you and try and tear you down because
you
they're
know what
mad because they're stuck living in Section 8 housing and living on snappy BT cards, or they're paying $3,000 in rent for a 2 foot square apartment in New York City because they refuse to live in a normal place. They're just
I'd live
haters.
in New
They're just
York.
haters. I,
They are haters, yes.
that's literally what they
I like your bluey pajamas. They're very nice.
do. Oh my gosh,
But I think the question is like
they have
I
pockets.
really don't think that it's meant to be
They have,
Nazi
they
propaganda.
have pockets, and they have one of those wiener things. Continue.
I forgot what I was saying. I just started like I was hoping you were gonna pull your cock out again and make a bunch of work for me again to have to edit it out.
For the federal agents,
The...
for the federal agents that watch this, that is not true. I've never used such a thing.
Yeah, that was all in Minecraft. That was a joke he's never done that before.
Hmm.
What was I? No, the them calling her a Nazi. If I had to guess, and this could be a lot not true, and I don't know, but it seems like if there was what could be considered the woke movement, which is now called a moniker of woke left, because now there's definitely a name for the radical right, just being also called the woke right now. And if the woke movement of, let's say, 2015 peaking 2019, or really peaking at like even till 2024 when Trump got elected, and Trump could be considered the shift of moving away from this like maybe not solving the problem, but a transition away from peak wokeness.
I'll
In
transition away from the powers that be taking them seriously.
well, I'm trying to put it in the best light possible so I don't sound like a tinfoil hat, because I'm going to in about 15 minutes
It's just,
probably start sound like a
it's just
tinfoil
that
hat person.
for the last 4 years, we've taken these people seriously. Well, I should say our government has taken them seriously.
I don't know if
And
even if they were forced to. There's a small chance that I'm starting to realize that they were just coerced into doing it. You could
Mhm.
lose your job if you were caught on the wrong side of cancel culture, and the woke part was a part of that. And so they were captured, not willingly choosing to do this, and it
And
was
that's what I'm
done out of
saying.
empathy.
Oh, I hate
Anyway,
cancel culture. I want to make
and,
cancel culture.
and so Sydney Sweeney is a mark of a situation which is woke culture is there's a chance that how do you say there's like a mean reversion or there's a correction that's going back where if there was a graph of like woke's power or woke's influence or whatever else you would want to say, I think power and influence would be great. If it was going up, it started going down, and Sydney Sweeney is a lot of the woke left realizing that the trend is going down, and so there's a lot of like people that are angry that feel like how do you say they're losing they're losing the battle, and this is kind of them starting to realize that American companies, um for better or worse, they the Volkswagen famously has an LGBTQ plus logo during Pride Month from 2015 to 2025 or whatever. Um, but there was also a different emblem that they repped hardcore back in the 1940s. And so it's like when companies have,
What does Volkswagen mean in German? What does Volkswagen mean in German?
we won't get into that now. I'm saying that companies usually if they're a big consumer facing company, they usually ride the ebbs and flows of culture in the US. And so if the ebb and flow of the
Didn't a
culture
bunch
is
of companies not change their Pride logos this year?
like didn't change their logo. I don't know that. I think I heard either you or somebody on Twitter say that.
I saw something that there was a ton of companies that have been doing their Pride logos, and this year they didn't bother to change them. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
because there's
So
no more money in it.
yeah. So I'm trying to be quieter. I was listening to one of the other podcasts and I realized that I like yell talk because I'm so passionate about this stuff and I never get to talk to anybody about this kind of stuff. And so I just like and freak out. But um see this is Sydney Sweeney. The reason why they were grasping at straws to try to find this like Nazi
Because she's hot, she's black,
straw
she made money.
is because anyone smart on the left is realizing that the cultural ebbs and flows have flowed out of their favor. And that we will talk about the good or bad or the ugly of like I dislike as much of all of the Fortune 500 marketing company marketing departments choose to swing pretty hard right now because they feel that while Trump is in office and there's a lot of movement towards that as of right now. I don't like the moving back and forth, but I don't know if there's any prescription for that to ever change. Or it's like whenever they're socialists and are in power, being the woke movement and all of them, Obama and his cronies. And then when Trump wins, it's like, well, we'll gain favor with it's like what does the CEO or the marketing director of those companies actually believe? Why not just stick with it? Because
I
I
think
wonder
they
if there's
just
going
don't
to be a
even know what
time
makes them.
where yeah, it's like a company like Black Rifle is going to die until the bitter end. If America became a socialist communist country in the next 40 years, Black Rifle dies, but they take it to the end. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
They don't switch left. And so it's like maybe there are companies that, but I don't
Black
know if there's
Rifle
ever
holds
going
out until the CIA stops using them to launder money.
right, of course. I've always wondered about money laundering. It's something that I've kind of wanted to go down the rabbit hole of. It's like because with the
I,
Epstein
I
stuff,
thought you were gonna say it's something I've always wanted to do.
no, I don't want to do it. I'm wondering what's the because it almost seems like the risk isn't worth the reward, but maybe that's because I don't know anything about it, and maybe the risk is. Or I can see there's a certain portion of business owners who have enough money that see that the financial risk or the reward is worth the financial risk. Because in my mind,
The
the risk
truth
is
will
like,
always come to light. That's what everyone. This is the inherent thing of all criminals, is that all criminals are just dishonest people. But their number one flaw and weakness is that they're all horrible
who?
optimists. Criminals and like liars, dishonest people. Their one
Yeah.
incurable fallacy is that they're all horrid optimists.
Liars are horrid. Oh, okay. Because you're saying that if they believe that the worst case scenario, like they
Well, they
can't
just think that
emotionally comprehend that the worst case scenario could happen, which is them being in prison.
yeah, they're a horrid optimists in the fact that they believe that they will succeed, and and they believe themselves to be smarter than everyone. They believe themselves to be smarter than everyone else around them. They believe themselves to be the smartest people in the world, and they just simply cannot fathom that someone could ever come up with that someone could ever crack and solve the elaborate puzzle and web that they've created, and that it's their incurable fallacy, and it's why when they fall so hard because they refuse to believe that they can.
Because they, up until the point where they're caught, they are acting as if they will never be caught, and so that the web of lies and dishonesty is just so hardcore. When they fall, it's hardcore. It's straight off of a cliff. But kind of following that thread of like, Sydney Sweeney marks a moment where it seems like the woke left realizes they're kind of losing a major battle of like momentum um in US culture. I think that this kind of leads to something that I don't fully know. Let me think. It's something, this conversation that you've had before. I'm like fully convinced that we are in a cold civil war in the US right now. Maybe it started in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cold Civil War is a different civil war that's ever really existed before, because in the classic Cold War that we know of between US and Russia, there was still country boundaries. And now we're entering a situation where it seems like the Cold Civil War is fought on the same intellectual lines, being communism versus socialism, or communism
Communism
versus
versus capitalism.
communism, capitalism, which I would argue that while the threads are the same, it's been so long that it should be called
It's been
neo-capitalism
so
and
long
neo-communism, because
since
they're
Christ has
forms
said.
of, and it really, if I was to label it correctly, it would be neo-capitalism or Western democracy versus Marxism in the U.S. There's a cold civil war being fought, but there's no boundaries. The internet removed all of the boundaries. Everything is all online, and it's within a country. And the civil war that we had in the U.S. in the 1800s had boundaries, north and south. And then the ideological lines were fought like in regular wars at a boundary, and then whoever won that ideological thought essentially encompassed both places, and then they were unified and then moved on. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not common, because there's a lot of civil wars in Africa that we know that it's just people changing hands, and it's just one bad guy to the next. Whereas Lincoln was able to, no one was absolved of crimes in that war, but he somehow was able to forgive the other side and not have there be that cycle of pain. And so with the cold civil, go ahead.
Lincoln just did this thing of like, we're all Americans, and like, go home. Go home.
Yeah, right. You're drunk. Go home. It's over.
Yeah, like,
Go.
you
You can't
lost. It's
have
over.
slaves. I'm sorry.
No one's gonna hold it against you. Go home.
Go home. And so with this new cold civil war going on in the
And
U.S., in
everyone
my
was
mind,
tired and wanted to go home. Too. That was the other thing. Everyone was tired and wanted to go home, so they went home, shouting the battle cry of
y-
freedom.
you say that like, oh, they were tired. They were tired the whole war. Everyone was tired during the whole
I
war.
know, dude. What's that? What's the that John Wayne quote from that one John Wayne movie where they're fighting or whatever? The war ends.
You just described every John Wayne movie.
Yes, I know, but there's like one where he's like,
Trey and I watched the
he,
movie one time. It was so good.
which one?
Good, the bad, the ugly.
That is not John Wayne. That is no, I just forgot. He's Dirty Harry. Clint Eastwood. That's Clint Eastwood. That's not John Wayne. I have a fantastic John Wayne
They're the
movie.
same person, as far as I'm
They're
concerned.
definitely not. I have a fantastic John Wayne movie that we will watch when I get home.
I don't think I've ever seen a John Wayne movie before.
Dude, there's I don't know why, but for some reason, there's like they just pick like the hottest chicks ever for him. Like it was back in a time when like to be in Hollywood, you just had to be like insanely beautiful, and you had to be like just a beautiful woman to ever get a role in Hollywood. And so like there's all like even the extras, like the females that have like two speaking lines, you're like anyways. And most of them are white chicks pretending to be Mexican. But I don't know, like that was like there was like a line where they're like, yeah, uh, like we're all Americans or something like that. And the Confederate general was like, yes, sir, that's always been the saddest part. And it was just like this thing of like, or we've just been killing each other, like, brother against brother, like father against son, like, because there was families that split because of the Civil War. Like there were families that broke apart and like that had sons go fight for the Confederacy and other sons go fight for the Union and they both died. Like, you know, and it was just
Yeah. So, I mean, I was going to touch on this, but I kind of wanted to ask you. For some reason,
like
because I never had.
my Civil War tism came out there.
You're good. You're good.
Continue.
This is good though because I want to try to map a lot of the American Civil War to what I think is. I hope it's not as bad as I think that it is. This intellectual Cold War that I hope never turns hot in the U.S. But I guess in
I
whatever.
hope it does turn hot because the people that are the smartest win. Because they have the best tactical mindset.
I
And
don't know.
they're also capable of fighting. They're not,
No, I
a
don't think
bunch
so.
of
There'd be
fat
no line.
hormone switching slobs
I was gonna say
doped
for
up
some
on
reason
SSRIs.
because of there was some propaganda around me as a child, I for some reason have always been weary of nationalism. And my question to you is do you think nationalism or what is nationalism? Is it good? Is it bad? Where are you at on it? Have you thought about this like a little bit in depth or a little bit further past?
America is a nationalist country.
So like what is
America
nationalism?
is the
It's like you
most
have
nationalist country, but we call it patriotism. We don't call it nationalism.
right. And so there's this idea of like well nationalism can cause wars. Because I was interested in this and that's why I googled it. It's like what is the issue? Like what are the cons of nationalism? Um and it seems like they say it's like it can be racist, there can be prejudiced, and it can promote conflicts and wars because of boundary disputes. Um, and in my mind, I'm like, you're describing issues with the human condition, not with nationalism. It's like I'm asking for a better system than nationalism. It's like, does that make sense what I'm saying? It's like give me an alternative. All of the issues are issues that exist with just humans in general, whether we were all one big country on the world and each country was an individual state or something like that. It would be there would be wars, conflicts, and whatever else. It's like I'm actually starting to reverse my belief and say until someone can provide me an intellectual argument for why there's a better system than nationalism, I think that nationalism with compassion and empathy is definitely where we need to be. So it's like yes, when we where we can, let's try to avoid having conflicts on national borders or whatever else. Um, and racism, I don't know if nationalism promotes racism or like and America's national identity is not based around race or and it like there's a lot of immigrants that come here from a lot of European countries and African countries. Some of them we call them slaves instead of immigrants for as far as like the African were concerned. But um it's like an American today that was born here and has four generations here could have equally come from Africa or what. Either way, I think the racism is a part of the human condition problem, which is just like a young kid that hasn't been taught about like yes, the color of their skin is different, but that doesn't make them good or bad. It's the choices that they make, even
I
if they're
mean,
influenced by culture or something else.
yeah, I don't think it's actual.
So I'm pro nationalism,
It's,
but I don't think that it's worth fighting wars for. I don't know. I'm not a white nationalist.
I believe in patriotism, not nationalism. I believe in the you know,
American patriotism.
liberty, freedom, and the American way. Like, and there's plenty of people out there of all race, color, and creed, and I saw it especially prevalent among you see it especially prevalent among the military, especially the Marine Corps, because the Marine Corps is a cult of like people coming together regardless of color, creed, religion, whatever. People coming together and working towards a common goal, and you're eating, sleeping, breathing, living with people that you would not only would you not talk to in like any other circumstance, but you would never even meet under any other circumstance. People from like towns that don't even exist in Mississippi and like stuff like that. Like
Right.
the people that I came across that I became really good friends with. And it was this whole thing that I learned that like no, like not all white people are like inbred hicks or like boring gentrified like you know SSRI infused like robots. Like you know what I'm
Because
saying?
that's what,
Not
being from Utah, that's what you're used to.
exactly. Like all not like Mexicans aren't like a bunch of like you know lazy napping like always sleeping whatever the Mexican stereotypes are, like people. Black people, like, they're not a bunch of like people that like they're all gangsters that eat fried chicken and watermelon. I mean, I love fried chicken.
You're
Throw it
just
out there.
really, you're just going through all of the. Is there anything you
I'm
like to say
saying like,
about Asians or?
yeah, they're not all good at math. Like, it wasn't about it. Like, it was like no There is no
Are
such thing
Asians good
as
at
a
driving
real
though?
stereotype. Some of them are. There's no such thing as a real
Yeah,
stereotype.
Yuki Tsunoda.
Exactly. Well, he's not that great actually, but
In F1, he's great, but as far as the
F1.
world is concerned, he is the. If you can exist in F1, you're an incredible driver.
That is true. That is so true. He's not that great in like the likes of like Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton and stuff like that. But those are some of the best drivers in the entire world. So
To ever live.
he's he's in the top 0.1%. He's just in the lower part of the top 0.01%. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But he's still overall he's in like the 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
So, in your mind, nationalism, patriotism. I'm not sure what the difference is here, but
There is no
um,
such thing as racism, is my main point. There is no such thing as racism because there's no such thing as racist racial stereotypes. They don't exist.
what?
There's no. I'm dead serious. Like
Okay, I'm lost.
okay, listen to me. I crack jokes about it all the time about like racial stereotypes and stuff like that,
So
but
lost.
they're not real.
But there's something about, and this is there's something about culture, and specifically about culture. The things that you choose to tell yourself, the self-talk that you have, typically determines what you do. So
Exactly.
whenever there's an Asian in San Francisco and their parents are first generation immigrants, and they have the Asian parents go to they hang around with all of their Asian friends because people birds of the feather flock together for better or worse. And all of they're all like in China. Back in China, they have the test that's 9,000 hours long, and everyone gets a perfect score, or they get killed. And it's like, or like I like my if we were in China, you would have learned this 5 years ago, and it's like you better be perfect at math. It's like they tell themselves it's like Asians have a pedigree of being good at math, and so they when they walk into the classroom, it's like my parents expect me to be good at this. I have a heritage of being good at this. I'm going to be good at this, and that's the self talk. Whereas the self talk of someone of a different race in America is going to get a different result because they're not going to have that self talk from their culture in their mind, and it goes both ways for good
It
and
does.
for bad.
It
And
does.
so I think that each race has cultural self-talk associated with it that usually, unless someone aware and is aware of it and fights it on good and bad, ends up being that race, that racial connotation, or the what do you, I forget the word is like genuinely escaped me, even though we just said it 9 times. Racial, like,
Stereotypes?
stereotype. That stereotype becomes that self-talk because of whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
I
like,
but
what I
I
was
do
trying to
think race.
say is that you can easily overcome any of that if you just have critical thinking skills and you look around and you say, maybe
So
I
that's
don't
a
want to
question
live
of
in O Block, Chicago, where there's gunshots every night. And I'm on.
yeah.
It's just like, have you seen the video of it is like it's like a black mom, but she's like crashing out on her son.
No, I have not seen
She's like
this.
laying in her bed in like their Section 8 housing, and she's crashing out on her son because he's like, I got a job today, or like I went in for a job interview or something like that. And she's like crashing out on him, and she's like, you can't get a job because they'll pull your income as part of my household income, and we'll lose our like our Section 8 entitlement because we'll be making over the amount of income, and like we'll lose Section 8 housing, and I'll get kicked out of my home. You're not allowed to like I forbid you from working. And like, you can hear the guy behind the camera. This young man is just like, I don't care. I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna go get my own money. I'm gonna go like contribute to society because I don't want to be a
So
bum that
it's a
lays around
question
and
of
beats off of
assimilation,
everyone. Yeah, and like he just like was like, what? I'm not gonna give in to any sort of profiling or like cultural like brainwashing. He's like, I'm actually gonna try and be a good person and a contributing member of society, and like everyone else be damned. Like I don't care.
which is
And
like awesome.
that's yeah, which is awesome. And I think that
So
that's like the wave that's sweeping the nation right now is that there's tons of young men of every single background that are like, you know what? I play video games with these guys. You know, I play video games with the, and I think video games has been a big part of it. Of like, I talk to these people every day. I have, it's just like the memes of like, um, most diverse female group, and it's like a bunch of like white chicks or whatever. And they're like, "You guys are racist," and then it's like the male friend group that they're calling racist, and it's like a super diverse group of guys, and they're just like, "Yes," and it's just like, and then it's like least diverse, male
we are
friend group,
racist or
whatever.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
So
just like, no, they're not. They're just I hang out with these guys because I can talk to them. They're normal guys just like me. I don't believe the the propaganda that's been passed to me that we're all tribal and that we all have to side with our people that look like us no matter what. No, I like this dude because we play Call of Duty together or whatever.
and we kiss a
Or
little.
yeah, and we kiss a little, whatever it is.
No, I'm just-
No, I don't. I don't care what this guy looks like. He's a good person. He's a cool dude. He's my boy. And so like, and then you're gonna try and tell us that we can't hang out together because we look different or because we tease each other about how we look, and it's just like, no, we don't care. It's just like, no one cares. Like guys don't care. We don't see it that way because we're just like, oh, you're a
Women
cool
and
guy and a
humans
decent
are this way
person.
as well. But yes.
Yeah, like I'm just saying that that's why there's like a huge red wave in like the young male population right now that
I,
everyone's
I would say
everyone's
there's
just talking
probably a
about.
lot more elements to that, but yes, that's one of
I
the
would well,
elements.
I would say that that's really the only element that matters is that it's just dudes are like,
Brotherhood.
wait a minute, it's not just brotherhood, it's just guys like and I'm not saying that women aren't doing any of this or whatever, but guys are just like, hang on, I'm gonna think about this critically and use like my frontal lobe or whatever, and I'm gonna look at this guy and I'm gonna be like, he's not that different from me. He looks a little bit different, or maybe he's from a different cultural background or whatever. But we actually agree on most of the things, and so we're gonna set aside, or maybe the few things that we don't agree on, and we're gonna play Black Ops, and then we're gonna vote the same way because we agree, and we're gonna
Yeah.
be friends even though
So
we're different. Gotta
yeah.
celebrate our differences.
Ching chong ching chong ching. That's a that. Anyway, kind of ruined all that by me saying ching chong at the end of it. But
Did
the to kind of talk about what you were saying and put it in like different words, I think that we need to have boundaries around assimilation and not say assimilation is necessarily a bad thing. So it's like if there is a Somalian who lives in Indianapolis or wherever that all that stuff is going on, it's like you can bring your culture with you and you can bring the food and the other parts of the culture, but here in America, we have boundaries around violence. We have boundaries around um like trying to be
You're not in a war
productive.
torn country anymore, bro.
And so you can bring whatever culture that is closely related to American culture that doesn't harm anyone. But as soon as you start having ideologies and start acting out violence, we're gonna have strong boundaries around. And this is for any culture, anywhere, ever. You need to assimilate to what our culture and what our values are, Western culture and Western values, which is like you don't need to go start a business, but you do need to have a job to provide for your family. And
Just
it might be hard
contribute
for.
to the overall well being of everyone else.
And I think that I used to feel guilty or confused or concerned around saying I have a boundary around assimilation in this country because it's a boundary. It's hard. Like I have a clear cut line. I believe that we have a police force who tries their best. There are some elements who are bad, but 90% of them want to protect their families and their communities. And we learn from our mistakes and we try to be better with the police in America. But the reason we have police is to avoid violence. The reason we have the military is to protect our borders in our country. And there are certain things around like not being patriotic and not having like national pride of the U.S., not having boundaries around violence. That is like that's a hard boundary for me, someone in the cultural West. And it's like that's a boundary that I have, and I'm starting to, and I think that this red wave that's happening, it could be said like you're having Marxist or woke fatigue, and it's like there's a
Hmm.
lot of young men who look around and say I have values that are very similar to what our traditional American Western values, um, and there's a lot of people for some reason or another who have essentially Marxist values, which are like get your money from the government to each from
I
the
can
or
tell you why.
from each their abilities to each or how does it go to each according to their needs from each according to their abilities or something like that. And it's like that flies in the face of what I believe like to be true. It's like is America perfect? Is the systems and is it the American Western systems perfect? The banks, no, there's a lot of corruption and everything in it, but I don't believe that we need to nuke the or like when I say nuke, I mean like disrupt or have a revolution within our police, our governments, our banks, our other institutions. We need to just have stronger boundaries around what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in those positions. But as far as like
Just
the
as you
red
would in
wave,
a relationship.
just as you would in a relationship. And I think I've talked to you about this. I think that there's a lot of mapping personal relationship conflict to the conflict that you have in politics and in war in general. But war is a little bit different. But
Sometimes you just gotta smack them.
and so the red wave is just a lot of dudes are just pretty much like I have boundaries around I want to work and I want to do my best. And but there's also there's a lot there's another really big wave of socialists and Marxists or whatever else you would want to call it in the US, which is the millennials are starting to get a lot of voting power and just a lot of they're starting to find their way into our institutions, and a lot of them are socialist. And I won't get into that. I kind of want to do a diatribe on that on another podcast about how a big part of it is our education system and how it essentially put a lot of millennials over a decade or two period um shot out of college. A lot of them went to college with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and nothing to show for it. And then you turn around and you get an entire generation of people that have thousands, hundreds of $1,000s of debt, and they were taught socialist things in their schools. And then all of a sudden, it's like the American systems and institutions aren't working for me. Maybe we need to try something different. Let's try socialism. And they're all very compassionate, kind people, but they haven't come to face with essentially what reality actually is.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that
They drink the
later.
Kool-Aid up like if I just poop out sunshine days, all right, those.
Everything will be fine.
If I just think really hard about pooping out sunshine days and rainbows, I'll poop out sunshine days and rainbows. It's like, no, you're still just gonna poop and it's gonna smell bad.
Yeah. And so hopefully this socialist wave um stops. I don't know, a lot of people
It will.
can realize their ways. Hopefully like Mom Donnie does get elected and he just absolutely destroys New York, which I hope New York doesn't get destroyed. It's a beautiful city with a lot of good in it. But you need adults running it. You can't have
I'm sorry, what
utopian
did you just say? What was that about New York?
New York is a beautiful city. Is that what you're saying?
New York, New York, where dreams
I,
are made of.
all American cities. I've only been to a couple of the major American cities, but
Man, dude, they are pretty dope, except for when they're not.
except for whenever they're run by utopian children who haven't met reality and need to understand. Well, and I
In
love this
an
quote.
effort to make a utopia, literally or ironically enough, end up making dystopias.
Yes. And it's like we didn't try the utopia hard enough. It's like, no, unfortunately, life is life, and you just can't have a utopia. You have to do the best with the tools you're given, and don't try for utopia because you'll get. Oh, you don't have to get into that now. But I love. There's this great quote, and it's by I think Jared Diamond, who's the owner of like Chase Bank or Chase JP Morgan. So he's like a super well-off financial guy who's very smart, very capable, lives in New York. And he pretty much said, I love all of my Democrat friends, but they're idiots. He goes, they have big hearts and small brains. Or, and so it's like,
Ronald Reagan said, I can't remember what speech it was, but he was like, he called them our well-meaning liberal friends.
our well meaning liberal friends, which is true. And so it's like, there are people who are adults who realize that life sucks and you do your best. Nothing is perfect, but you do what you can. And you don't try to build a utopia because you're going to get a dystopia. And unfortunately, because of the economic environment that we have put the millennials in, we have essentially created a bunch of socialists, voting socialists, and it's unfortunate. So we'll see. That's something that we're gonna have to contend with. But there's a huge big picture that's super abstract, that's crazy,
Well,
that doesn't make
it's
a
the
lot of
difference
sense.
of it's the difference of we have a problem, I'm going to solve it, versus we have a problem, I expect you to solve it. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
the difference.
it's a fundamental shifting blame away from yourself to others, and it
Or not
creates
even
helplessness,
blame, maybe not even blame.
responsibility.
Yeah, responsibility is what I was
And so to go even higher in the abstraction of like politics and everything, there is a theory that I wanted to talk to you about and kind of see where you're thinking. I think we may have talked about this before, that we might be entering a stage of stagnation um in the US, and it's all based on fundamental physics. And this is probably sounds like it's a hardcore left turn, but for me it's literally exactly in the same lane.
Is this the thing of like mathematically all empires die at 250 years old or whatever?
No, so I would say it's different than that. That I have been seeing a lot of on. We haven't even gotten to the anti-Semitism stuff I wanted to talk about. That's okay.
Anti-Semitism.
We're cruising. I'm not an anti-Semite,
Nor am
but
I.
I don't care if you want to call me that because I will say what my opinions are. And if you want to label me that, then I
If
will wear it as a badge
well,
of honor.
it's just like the thing of like um when Florida passed like those pedo bills or whatever, and like everyone was on the internet, uh, where it's like, hey, you can get the death penalty for being a pedophile now. And then a bunch of people in like the LGBTQ community were like, well, I'm never going to Florida because my life's in danger. And I was like, what do you mean
Good.
by that? What do you
Yeah. What
mean
do
by
you
that?
mean by that? Good. I'll leave the U.S. while you're at it. India enjoys that situation there. Anyway, um, so this is big abstract craziness. So we're gonna go into it because and then it's gonna tie back to the American domestic politics that we were just talking about. So two threads to kind of pull here. One is there is the empires only last 200 years. Okay, so I'm gonna actually write that down. And then the other part is how do you say periods of growth versus periods of stagnation, right? Um, we'll talk about the empires lasting 200 years first, and then we'll go into stagnation, and then we'll all tie it back in, and then we might end it because we might
250
be
years.
at time 200 to 250, right? Just gonna say 200 because it's easier. But anyway,
Oh, the thing I was watching was
I
talking about how it's all around the 240 to 250 mark. It's usually
right, and we're 250 is what, a couple years away, right?
250 is exactly 1 year away.
Well, we'll find out.
July 4th, 1776. 250 is next year. Next year's the bicentennial or whatever it is.
So the question there is, I think the fact that there's a lot of Instagram shorts and or Instagram reels and YouTube shorts being made about it and YouTube videos being made about it means that we're an important part of having change happen, which is the American populace or the people who are into history or that are seeing all of this are at least aware that this is a situation. So as soon as you become aware of a cycle, then you can try to at least have ways to break this cycle. And so we're in a unique period in human civilization where we have like not obviously we don't have perfect knowledge of ancient Rome, but we have a lot better knowledge of like say British Empire, and so we can kind of look at a lot of the big overarching situations and see, is there a way that we could at least prevent empire falling? Or does that make sense what I'm saying? We have two examples of it now. Were people at the end of the British Empire talking about the end of empire? It's like, no, this time we weren't. And so if you're trying to make change, if you're realizing that you fight with your wife for one reason or another, it's usually there's a like a specific cycle that happens. And whenever you become aware of when you or your wife have a trigger of fighting, and then usually you try to change things, and then you break out of the loop and you go to another loop and you try and see what the outcome is. And so we're in a unique situation where, because of the growth of technology, especially information technology being the internet and many other things, we're in a unique period in politics, economics, and business as far as the world global stage is concerned, to try to either prevent an empire falling or just maintain an empire in a way that is not corrupt. So the when I say maintain, that leads to stagnation versus growth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a chance that there's a book I haven't read it, and it's around the idea that someone realized that people think that growth is new technology in business, and that's true. But whenever you say new, the key word is technology. What creates new technology? And technology is man-made things, man-made objects. The key to technology is having a better understanding of the world around you, i.e., physics, i.e., fundamental physics is what created the technologies of the 21st century. The wars, there's this propaganda that I'm not sure. Well, I don't know if I need to say propaganda, but there's this fact or thing that's promulgated in books that were probably written by Maxwell, that the war, and this is probably global industrial complex, like military industrial complex, that put this in the history books, that war is what created the growth that grew America out of the Great Depression.
Have you ever read War is a Racket?
No, but I have it on
You
my
need,
Amazon wish list
you need
actually.
to read that. So maybe that's the book I'll buy you because the books I bought you for your birthday were just funny. War
Well,
is a
no,
Racket is one of the greatest books of all time.
and so in the history books, there's always that sentence that I always was like, I guess it's true. It and World War II is what got the U.S. out of the Great Depression, and I now don't know if that was 100% true, because if there's an alternate human time tree where there wasn't a war, the fundamental physics, it may have happened a little bit slower, but we would have found all of the technology that we would have found because of fundamental physics breakthroughs, and the growth was the industry was created around the new technology that was being made, the new weapons and everything else.
Well, you had all these massive government projects, and that was one of the things that improved quality of life in America so much was Roosevelt. Like all those infrastructure, like the power lines that keep catching on fire in California. Those are from Great Depression. Those are
Or
Great Depression projects.
the weirdest part is like whenever you see those bridges that were built over canyons in California that have never been driven over because they expected there to be a new road there, but there actually never was because highway technology was developed later on. Yeah, have you seen those where these people would
Yeah,
go
yeah.
cliff jumping over like beautifully made, very like strong, still standing bridges that have a road on the top of them, but there's no roads going to either side of the bridge because the roads that were meant to be made there, which that gets into way different like Keynesian theory economics where it's like I don't believe in Keynesian theory or I believe that it exists, but I think that you're buying borrowed time that you should not be doing.
Yeah.
Um, um, so the growth and stagnation question is I think we're at a unique period where we have a lot of headwinds, but I still think there's hope that we know that we might be at the end of an empire. So we need to make changes that are different this time to maintain not only the US but all of the other countries in the world in a period of what would be called non-growth or stagnation, where there's still no corruption in positions of power. Because if you just say everyone is corrupt in the government, get rid of the government, it's like no,
I'm not a
like
big
anarchy.
fan of the government.
Anarchy doesn't exist, and so we need to have a better way of having boundaries in our Western institutions to remove corruption wherever possible. And then what that ends up being is we have the technology that we have and we have the civilization that we have, and then we maintain it instead of dipping into a period where because there's no more earth to conquer, the wars start getting fought with each other instead of essentially being conquering the Indians because they have less warfare technology and you take over their land kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so we're in a unique period where I believe that we have a lot of headwinds. Oh, there could be a chance that it's 250 years in an empire, and we need to be conscious that we could be starting to decline, or things could be starting to be broken up. How do we avoid that? One way I think is being very serious about boundaries around corruption in our institutions and reestablish trust in our institutions because the FDA is good, but we need to find, and I'm going to get into this later and the more complex an institution is, the more educated the public around, the more educated the public needs to be around that topic.
Mhm.
And and you need to be truthful around how you communicate that subject. And I'll get into that later on. But I think that it brings hope to be able to be like, okay, we see the headwinds, we see the cycles of thousands of years in the past. Now let's do our best to see what we can do to maintain and maybe even unlock a new period of technology, which would be uh, new fundamental physics, which that's a whole other thing that we're going to talk about later on. So that whole diatribe of whatever else gigs, what do you think about that?
I think that first off, the Empire shall not die. I'm not gonna have
Right.
anything to say about it.
Of course, of course.
But I think it can be done. I think there's there's so much to be done, and like it's so funny because I'm so anti-federal government or big government, but I also love working for the big government. I love the projects and the power that they have to just be able to do so much. And it's just like, what can we do to keep the American dream alive? What can we do to keep you know, the house and the white picket fence and the 2.1 children or whatever it is? 2.1 or 2.3?
2 point. I'll take 2.3. I don't know what it is, but to everyone 2.3. Higher the better, to be honest. Let's be real.
2.3, yeah. Like the 2.3 children in the red brick house and the white picket fence, like that's not a bad dream to have. That's not bad. Like we're constantly talking about like, that's I think that's one of the hardest parts is that people like we've eroded the American dream of self-made men doing self and women doing self-made things, making themselves, having their own lives and having the independence to live their life and like, they're not stuck in a social credit system. They're not stuck in some apartment in the city with, robot Anna de Armas or I guess in this case Brock, like, cooking them breakfast every day or whatever. Like, no, I don't want that. I want family. Why is it bad for me to want that? Because that's the problem is that we've eroded the American dream to the point that people think it's bad to want these things
I
and
think
to want
if you,
kids and stuff like that.
I think that it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and I'll describe what I mean by that, which is, I think that because of corruption and boomers choosing to essentially steal money from their children and grandchildren through economics,
Mm-hmm.
that whenever you have a generation
Most
of,
likely accidentally or
it might have been
unintentionally.
accidental, and I think turning
I think
the,
it was unintentional. I think
I
it
think
was.
for some people it was intentional. For most boomers, it was unintentional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as I think you need to turn the other cheek on that as well. And I'll talk. That'll come up
I have.
later. Of like,
I'm not mad about the housing.
I'm not
I
saying you
view
are,
it.
but I'm saying a lot of
I view it as
people
a
that are
challenge.
Gen Z, and that a lot of people that are Gen Z and millennial look to the boomers and say, "You took my house from me," or whatever else, which is like partially true, but the wealth transfer is very different. Anyway, um, I think that because there's a lot of millennials and Gen Z that you see like the Facebook memes of like me in 2008 when I was 4 years old when I should have been buying a house but I was drooling in kindergarten or whatever. And it's like if you have the belief that the millennial or the boomers took your home from you and took your economic prosperity that they were able to have from you so that you couldn't have it, you also believe in like socialism and Marxism, because those two things, they're threaded very similar to each other in the way that like you have no control over your economics because the world is so screwed you couldn't pull yourself out of it even if you wanted to. Um,
I
and
agree.
so I think that when you talk about what, so separate from class warfare, but it would be closer to generation warfare or whatever you want to say. This is I think that is the gateway drug to being a Marxist communist
Oh, so
socialist.
true. So true. So true.
It is
Because
saying my grandpa boomer, or sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I should. It's like the whole thing of like I want something without having to get it. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna blame someone else for it, and then I'm gonna try and force everyone else to give me what I rightfully deserved or whatever.
Yeah, and so it's like this it needs to be what the way that me and you view it, which is it's a great challenge, and great men are made in great challenges. Great men and women, great people are made in great challenges, and there's a great challenge ahead for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Millennial will be a part of it. Oh, I don't know what if there can be what can happen there. But there's a great challenge ahead for restabilizing economics in the U.S., in the West, and in the world. Um, and still building great people along the way. That would be a great place to end it, but I still want to keep talking. The To finish off what I was going to say,
Oh my gosh!
I think
I swear, because I texted you, does not mean that I want you to call me. I texted you. If I wanted you to call me, I would say, "Hey, call me," or I would call you. Because
did
I
you
texted you that I'm working tomorrow, that doesn't mean that you just call me immediately. Because I'm still awake. Women.
is that homegirl? Yeah. um, I totally forgot everything that I was talking about. But to be honest, I think if I had to say, we'll find a way to distill this whole 45-minute conversation that we just had into a word or a phrase or a sentence. But the hope that you and I have for the challenges that face our generation and future generations, the hope that we have to solve these problems or to manage them is why I want to do this podcast. Does that make more sense? And so
Most
when we talk
certainly.
about politics, business, culture, and video games and whatever hobbies that we have, it, it's coming from that whole 45-minute conversation that we had, which is there is hope for the great challenges ahead, and there's great men to be made through those challenges. And great generations, great lessons to be distilled to the generations onward. And
Hottest
that's
of
what I
steels are forged, or the strongest of steel is forged, the hottest of fires, or whatever.
yeah. And so we'll probably find a way to say that, but like I think by episode 16, I've finally been able to at least get out of my head and distill why I wanted to do this podcast. And obviously it was a big mumble jumble of conversation about Sydney
Mumbo jumbo.
Sweeney.
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry,
And
continue.
back off of some very serious, heavy, complex, confusing subject that might make a lot of people angry and get people confused.
Oh, it really
Let's
shouldn't make you angry, though. And why should it make you angry
Well, if
for
you're
me
the
to
type
be
of
like,
person who we
yeah,
describe
but
that expects the world to give them something, if you truly understand what we just said, you have two choices to make, which is to say, I still want the world to give me what I want, and everything you said is wrong, and you're a big dummy,
mhm.
or I have to change how I talk to myself and say I can create what I can create for myself, and I have
Question:
free
Why?
will.
This is my question. Why work on the world's timeline when you can work on your own?
I don't. What?
Why rely on why rely on the world to give me everything? Let's say it does happen, I'm on their timeline. Why can't I do it on my own? Why can't I give myself everything on my own time?
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
don't have to
that's just
wait
like
that.
psychologically having to do with you have a different mentality than they do.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you're a
But that's what I'm
go
saying.
getter in some ways. The uh uh we're gonna to jump off of that subject. Unless you have anything else that you would like to say about empires dying and growth and stagnation, economics and everything
Did you
else.
say girlfriend stagnation?
Girlfriends and stagnation, not growth stagnation.
Hoflation?
Hoflation.
No,
um
that's not enough.
uh tinfoil hat for 5 minutes and then we're gonna finish it up maybe. Uh Do you think? I don't know if I want to tackle this. It has to do with Robert Maxwell and the history books that he chose to write.
What about it? The fact that he wrote history books and ran one of the biggest history book companies?
In the U.S.
McGraw Hill, right?
Uh, it was called something worse to start with. Um,
McGraw Hill was it, huh?
no, that's what it was bought into, and that's what as it exists now. Um, um, it was really Pergamon Press. So, if you had to guess what Pergamon means,
Isn't that like some sort of lower demon or something like that?
um, this is total tinfoil hat, so forgive us. But it was the city in ancient Greece where they did like human sacrifice and children sacrifice. And it was like and there was something called the Pergamon altar where they did those sacrifices. And then it was also in the Bible, it's like one of the seven cities of Asia or something like that, and it has like historical significance, like essentially Babylon or whatever else. And he decided to call it Pergamon Press. And
Maybe he just thought it was a tough name, you know? It's like,
maybe he thought it was a tough name, yeah, for sure. But no, it was around um how do you say? Nope, we're not gonna do it. Anyway, uh some culture stuff. This is super interesting to me, and this is like totally like Love Island type shit. And
oh, is this that YouTuber we were talking about the other day?
yes, yes.
We're not supposed to talk about that?
What do you mean you weren't supposed to talk about that? I don't care. I talked to you about it because it was interesting, and then as I was talking to you about it, I was like, we should talk about this on the podcast because it's just so interesting. Um, so it this is the we're starting our what the Gen Z called boomer moment or whatever else, where like we're old and we're looking back at our generation, other generations, and just being confused and wondering what's going on. And so it's between Jason the Ween and I guess her name is Sakura. I don't know if I said that right. And it's these two young people, Gen Alpha. I don't know if they're actually Gen Alpha proper because I just recently learned that the generations were actually kind of split up in a weird way recently. It used to just mean like every 10 years or something like that or every 20 years. But now it's like they changed it because the internet charged it up so fast. Um and streaming already for the people that are either streaming that are barely just getting by or for people that are streaming that are the top 1% of streamers, there's this weird line which is like you stream 5, 10, 8 hours a day for however many days, and most of them stream as genuinely as much as possible, and they share so much of their life. And it's just them candidly talking live to a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more personal and so much more easily able to be like what I guess they call parasocial. I don't know if that's a definition or if that was made up by Ludwig or somebody else, where it's like this person, you see them online and you have a relationship with them, but they have no idea that you even exist.
Yeah.
And it creates this weird dynamic situation. And then so I think television and the eyes of other humans watching something so weird like Love Island, where it's people willingly choose to go to an island and like make a fool of themselves for entertainment to be rich and win a lover that they end up divorcing 2 or 3 years later. Or it's very uncommon for them to get married. With now that I think that these very smart young Gen Alpha streamers who already sell so much of their life and their access online through the internet have started developing these like fake love stories or real love stories that are lived out on stream and that are lived out on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and that's how I've been viewing them as YouTube Shorts. And I think it's just super smart and super interesting, this like dynamic that the internet created of people doing
Hollywood's
essentially.
been doing it since Hollywood started, you know?
Oh no, of course Hollywood has been doing it, but I think I don't know if do it. They did it knowingly or something like that. But I think
They
this is just an
definitely did.
interesting phenomenon that I hope if you're watching this, to the three people that watch this, uh, the I hope that your YouTube short starts fitting it to you because it's some great content out there. um, do you think that this has any like negative side effects, Gideon?
I just, go get your own girlfriend. What do that was
What do
my
you
whole
mean?
thing.
Me? I probably
No,
should.
I'm saying like yeah, but like when you watch streamers, like I get the opinion, I get the appeal of streamers. Oh, this guy is like he's very respected in such and such community, and I also like that community, and so I want to know what this person thinks. Or like, hey, this guy usually has pretty good takes. I'm gonna tune into him and listen to what his takes are and stuff like that. But it's just like why, and this is the one problem I have with like gaming streamers, is like, why not just go play the game yourself? Why are you watching someone else do it? And maybe you don't have the time, or you're like, I'm not going to. There's some, like, I'm
I
never
for
gonna play a Five Nights at Freddy's game, but I love Five Nights at Freddy's, and so whenever a new one comes out, I'm gonna watch Markiplier play it. But
yeah.
that's because I know I'm never gonna play them. I'm never gonna experience it for myself. But like, if I see a streamer or like someone like, hey, this new update for this game that I really like to play drop, I purposely am not gonna watch it. I'm not even gonna look at the video. I'm like, I don't want to watch that because I'm gonna get off work today. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna experience it for myself. And like,
Boomer
I know,
ass take.
yeah,
I
I
love
just,
it.
it's just like I want to do it myself. I want like, what's the point of, it's kind of like it's it's like getting cucked, bro. Like, why do it when you can just do it yourself? Why watch someone else do it when you can do it yourself?
Right. I
Like, it's fun. It's fun for the drama and stuff like that. But you
can
can't,
I can I say what I think it is?
yeah.
Um, I think that it is gay. No, wait, that's not what I was gonna say. I think that there there is how do you say?
That reminded me of that Asian sign guy. Have you seen the one where it's like a bunch of like dudes from like Jersey or whatever talking about themselves, and it's like, and together we're, and then it like cuts to him. Whenever he's like, gay. You guys are freaking gay.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, dude, I love that guy. He's so
I
smart.
love him. He's a
He,
genius, bro.
and I think he like went to school in the U.S., but he went back to China, so he lives in China now, and he just sells all those products, and he gets those deals to sell them. Oh, so smart, so cool. I love the grind. That guy is so just charismatic and awesome, dude. I love that. That's so cool for him.
Have you seen the one where he speaks in Spanish?
No, I have not. He knows
Dude,
Spanish.
I just watched one where it was someone complaining about, like, some Hispanic complaining about something, and all of a sudden he's talking about and it cuts to him. He's in like a sombrero and a poncho, and he's talking about his sign in Spanish, but he's doing it with Trump's voice. He's, he's, it's crazy. It's an Asian dude speaking Spanish with a Trump accent. And
That
it's, oh
that's
my
next
gosh,
level.
it's so fun.
He's playing a different game than we are, and I love
He
it.
really is, bro. He's on a whole other level.
That's so awesome. The what I was gonna say is to talk about what I thought was why people. I think the only reason that I know this is because this is partially me, just a little bit. Um, I was unfortunately introduced to the internet by a friend in high school. Like I knew
Really
about the
quick,
internet.
really
What's
quick,
up?
because you said literally me, that reminded me of that thing. Did you see that, like, at his, like, latest press conference or whatever? Ryan Gosling said to someone in the crowd, he was like, "No, I understand. I'm literally you."
No, I didn't know about
He said
this.
that, bro. He told a guy, because some guy was like, "I love you, like you understand us so well," and like you could tell the guy was gonna say, "You're literally me" or whatever, and like Ryan Gosling was like, "Yes, I know." He's like, "In fact, I'm literally you," or something like that,
Gosling.
and it was just like, he's on it, he gets it, he's literally me. Sorry, continue.
Great, I love it. That psychologically comes down to that study of I think it was like either Lego or Barbie or something like that, and it was like done in the 70s and it was about marketing, and it was boys embody the GI Joe that they're playing, and girls play with the Barbie as a friend, and that's a very different psychological thing that men do. I don't fully understand it. Does that make sense what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like,
Like,
I remember you talking about
it's
that,
like,
about like how the girls, like, they view the dolls as like part of their circle, whereas like boys are like, that's literally me.
that's literally me. And so like I think this Ryan Gosling is literally me. is like the like fine one of the final forms through the internet of essentially them recognizing culture, which is any good marketing director, any good movie director is going to say, "I want a movie that helps the male viewer physically embody himself." And so, like, I think you watched Cyberpunk 2077, and it really perfectly, in a great way, in a different setting, physically embodies the male experience of like,
That's why the Halo games are so successful.
and it's like because you physically literally embody them. So it's like this funny. This meme is just the embodiment of something that was discovered in some marketing scientific or discovery in the 1970s of like the
No,
psychological differences between men and women.
no Halo protagonist has ever shown their face.
Oh yeah, because it would that's like the Yoda situation in the Star Wars. You don't want to know the backstory of Yoda because it takes it away, and you don't want to see the face because you want to feel like you're him.
Yeah, like that. And
Oh, I want
that's
to
one
play
of the
Halo.
reasons. I know that's one of the reasons
I
that
didn't buy
Reach.
that VHS, and I'm gonna hate myself for the rest of my life for not buying that fucking
It's
VHS.
okay. It's just on. It's if it was on something, I would have gotten it. If it was on something, if it was on like the actual history of Halo, or the history of the development of Halo, or something like that. Because like
I
the
just
Halo
love.
speedruns are super cool, but like if it was about something that was actually like super deep about, which I guess the speedruns are, super deep, but like something I guess was more.
They're definitely a part of the culture of Halo.
They really are. But like that's the beauty of like Master Chief never took his helmet off and like no one you never see the face of any of the Halo protagonists and they said that they did that intentionally because the whole point of it is that it could is that when someone sits down and picks up the Xbox controller to play those games, they put themselves into the armor.
Yeah, which is
Like
cool.
you become the rookie in Halo ODST. You are Noble Six
We
in
never beat ODST.
Reach. I mean, I have.
Good.
We never beat
I
it.
know you have, but you and I did started a campaign like a year ago.
Yeah, I
Um,
love this
to
game.
finish what I was saying before, which is when I started getting into the internet, um, I was at a I was like I was just having I was a teenager, so it was just difficult. Life is difficult. I don't know. You're very disorienting, and I really was like, man, I really like watching YouTubers or whatever else kind of thing. It's like you first start doing it ironically. It's like my friends it's in middle school are telling me that I should go watch PewDiePie, and I'm not a normie. I'm not gonna go watch it or Markiplier.
Wait, one. I have to go pee.
I'm just gonna monologue.
No, please do. I'm sorry I've been trying to hold it in, but
I have to
great.
pee
I have
too,
3 bottles of
but it only started probably after yours did. To finish what I was saying. Um, oh, I dropped my fidget spinner. Give me a sec. This is important, or I won't be able to function. One sec. Okay, I'm actually just gonna. Okay. Okay, I have it back. We're good. Um, sorry to anyone that watched the episode like 1 or 2 weeks ago where I didn't have my fidget spinner, so I was literally just playing with my Glock on my desk, and when I went to go edit it, I could just hear just me racking it over and over again during the podcast. That was pretty funny and annoying. But to finish saying what I was saying about like the kids that are watching the video games, I think that if you're the type of person that's a little bit more introverted, or you're just the type of person that doesn't have a lot of friends at school, and then you start watching PewDiePie, or I mean, to speak of now, you start watching Jinxie, you start watching Jason the Ween, you're 15 years old, and you play video games as well, but then sometimes you're like, I heard Jason the Ween and his girlfriend are gonna go to Japan this month. I'm gonna watch that instead of play Halo with my boys this week. And then all of a sudden you have this parasocial relationship with them that you've developed by watching their YouTube videos and their streams. That it and I think Twitch does this well, where the element of Twitch that's different than YouTube is more around the idea that it's live and you won't see it again because you can rewatch the video. It's going to be 6 hours long and you can skip through it, but it's not live like whatever Jason the Ween is recording and live at that time that he's doing in that moment. I think it's for some people it's a relationship is built first, and then it's like a
Black
parasocial
hole
friend that you
sun.
have.
Won't you come? Sorry.
So no, you're good. That's
Watch
all. I just think
rain,
it's a parasocial relationship before it's a video game thing. I think Giggs just grew up in an environment where his parents did something that most parents should do, which is like, and in the age of the internet, you
Go
want your
touch
kid
grass,
outside
you
every
little
once in a
piece of
while.
garbage.
Yeah, it's like because you're developing weird parasocial relationships
Which
online,
it's
and
crazy to say that I believe that because my entire childhood I
you
never did
hated
go
it.
I never did go touch the grass. I
What
got
do you
out of
mean?
touching the grass. Like I just purposely would do stuff to
I don't.
get like I like every single time I had to turn off my video game and go outside and do something, I just wouldn't do it.
Except for
It's so
that
funny.
era
Like,
where you did airsoft.
yeah, but I really wasn't as into it. Nearly as into it as I wanted to be.
Because you were busy playing video games?
Yeah. It's like it's crazy that I turned out the way I did because it's funny because at some point I realized that like um I don't know, I think it was a combination of a lot of things, but I should have turned out as like a social like loser and like a shut-in and like a nerd and stuff like that.
Me
And
too.
for
I think
some
about this
reason
all the
I
time.
didn't. Like it's
I think it.
crazy how
You know
close
what
I
I think it
was.
is? I think both of you are just both you and I are natural introverts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we were more introverted, it would have been a different situation. I
Yeah.
think our actual
You're saying we're
underlying
both
physical,
naturally extroverts or we're both naturally introverts?
I think our base load hardware is extroverted
Yeah.
more than some.
Yeah.
And so our
I can
base load
agree
hardware
with
got,
that.
you know what I mean? Yeah. Um, uh, Thank everyone. Thank you everyone to whoever watched to the, if you watched to the end, if you're any of you, that's not me, Landon, Bryce, Gideon,
I give you
I
twenty
mean, leave a
dollars.
comment. You probably know me. Text me. That'd be so
I
sick.
I give you
This
twenty
this was a good
dollars.
episode. What's up?
I said I give you $20. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. If you text me, I might send you $5 in Venmo or something like that.
I give you
But
$20. You text Ammon the word beans.
Beans, if you don't know me, post in the comments for real. I'll Venmo you for real, for real. Dead serious. I'm actually not even kidding. Text
I'll
me
send
and
you five
I'll
bucks.
find a way to get your Venmo. But if you're watching here, we're thinking about doing a. Obviously, I want to get more people watching because I talked about why I want to do this podcast, the politics and the politics and the media and culture and economics and business isn't because of just do we pick those random subjects. It's all of this underlying theory of like there are great challenges ahead and we need to fix them or we need to go in and do our best to manage them. And that's done through understanding business, economics, business, and culture. And those three things, pulling those levers and learning how they work and understanding the complex nature of all things, pulling those levers and learning how they work and understanding the complex nature of all, have more in-depth stuff, maybe a lot more chillaxed stuff. Me and Gideon are going to be doing some gaming on there. We don't know if we're going to do it yet because we don't have that many viewers. But as people start getting viewers, at the end of the podcast, we're gonna start plugging the Patreon. I have like ideas for it. We haven't set it up yet. We don't know when we'll launch it. Maybe we'll have like a big launch day of like a certain number of subscribers, and we'll launch the Patreon. And that'll help us out with like getting Gideon off of a fucking potato that he's on. That would be nice. So we could see his pretty little face more and stuff like that. Almost all of it's gonna go just straight back into the podcast for the first long while.
Can't wait to
Um,
get home, get on real internet, and have an actual like my $400 webcam that I bought and stuff like that.
yeah. Um, uh, and so I'm pretty excited about that because I want to kind of build that up and see about, because honestly, to be real, part of it is I don't play video games. I work and then I work on this podcast and I do my one other project. And I work and I'm a workaholic. And so if I have a excuse to be able to play video games, uh, and stream it and talk about certain stuff and answer people's questions on a little video, behind a Patreon paywall or something like that, with Gideon and I just shooting the shit. That'll be fun and interesting, and I can finally look at the new Star Citizen update because haven't played. I have played it. I did like 3 bunker missions and that's it. But thank you for coming. You have a good one. We'll see you next week.